Ellen, you mentioned briefly about the role of co-production and how it can teach and guide in Chinese filmmaking, but more on the technical side, more on the marketing side. Is that something you would like to see more of in terms of the MPAA studios coming to China and teaching technical expertise, better quality?
Yeah, I think it's good for both sides, actually. The Chinese film industry and also the Hollywood film industry to have this exchange of ideas and expertise, because when you're making a Chinese movie in China for the Chinese audience, you work with your partners, you can actually understand more about what the audience wants. That can actually, now that China is such an important marketplace, that doesn't only help Chinese movies, but it actually helps us in our Hollywood operations to understand a little bit about what our expectations should be for what types of our Hollywood films will perform well in China, what formats should they be released on, and what's a reasonable, for example, marketing strategy to reach the Chinese audience. One of the interesting things I've learned in the development and the production of Chinese movies is that the key way to reach the audience at any point in the cycle is through social media. And when we talk to Hollywood studios now about what's the best way to really ignite interest in their movies in the Chinese internet space, it's really social media. It's all about that. And that means things like, and this is not something I was involved in, but it means something like Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise opening up a Weibo account, which is it's a Twitter, similar to a Twitter account. It's the most direct way to communicate with people in China, because Chinese people don't trust advertising. Everything to them is old news because they can download a trailer for a Hollywood movie as soon as it's released on the internet anywhere in the world. But if somebody takes the time to establish a connection with the Chinese audience, they will be well rewarded. And similarly in the Chinese film production space, what's working in terms of Chinese movies is not Chinese movies that are trying to be like Hollywood blockbusters, but Chinese movies that actually connect with people in their hearts where they live and feel very local and familiar to them. And I was talking to Jerry about this a little earlier today. The last 4 movies that have come out, 3 or 4 movies that have come out in China that have skyrocketed. And last year, 2012, was actually a difficult year for Chinese movies because there were only 3 Chinese films, and that includes co-productions, in the top 10 of all the films released in China. And last year was the first year in recent recorded years that the Chinese film box office was less than the box office for import movies. And everybody was going, whoa, what's going on here? But actually it was like a crouching tiger hidden dragon. They sort of, all of a sudden, these Chinese movies, including our Journey to the West and another movie we released called Say Yes, they just came out of the boxes. And what it was that people loved about these movies, Lost in Thailand, Journey to the West, Say Yes, Finding Mr. Right, is that they felt like they were really made by Chinese people, for Chinese people, speaking the same language, telling the same jokes, same cultural values and everything. And you know, that's what you should do in a thriving film market, is that you should have movies that are made for your market, the stories that work in your market. With Hollywood movies, what's happening is that there's a kind of a bifurcation where they still are, because with only 34 movies coming in from outside of China, they're still getting the creme de la creme of everything that is produced and released internationally. And what they're looking for is big production value, recognized stars, exciting franchises, branded entertainment, usually something that they can see on IMAX. So it's going 2 ways. And so the marketing is going to go 2 ways as well. And so that's where I think we're really learning from each other. It's very fertile exchange of information.
On the marketing side, can the cinema operator do a better job?
You know, the cinemas, I actually think the cinemas are doing a great job.
Okay.
I think that whatever the cinemas can do to even up your involvement with social media is going to be great. And I think that the more that you learn about your audience, the more you may actually be able to target audience members who care about a particular type of movie. And I'm sure you're already doing a lot of that. You guys have an incredible database of information.
Yes, just more comments on this topic. Just you know, for the Wanda Cinemas experience, just 2 years ago, we launched the membership loyalty program. Yes. So by now, our membership, the number of membership is over 4 million. Unbelievable. We can follow every activity of our audience, and we analyze the data. We have the database, you know. So, and also with the biggest one, social media in China. So we can use the social media, and we can analyze the habit of the audience, interactive with the audience. So promote the content. So that's just what we do now. You know, it's very interesting and it's very powerful.